is NJ, your host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on the concept of planetary aspects. So now friends, as you know this thing that when we talk about the way planets manifest results or they influence each other or influence our life, so all of that comes down to the planetary dignity, their placement in certain houses. Are they forming any conjunction with other planets? And over and above that, are they forming any Raj Yogas? But along with that friends, planets have also got additional way of influencing the matters of other houses, exerting their influence on other planets as well, which is their aspect. So now all the planets have got the same seventh aspect, like wheresoever they are placed in the chart, they aspect and influence the matters of the house opposite to them. But over and above that, there are certain planets like Jupiter, Mars and Saturn, they have got additional aspect as well. So in this video friends, we will try to decode the importance, significance and results of all of these aspects. So now friends, to begin with, trust me friends, this concept of aspect proved to be very informational and very supporting when you are actually working on the details where stakes are very high. So like for example, if you have received this query that someone who has met with an accident and the stakes are very high, or a politician who's about to compete on a very important sensitive political seat, so in those kind of scenarios, apart from making use of the dasha and of the transit, if you're going to use and make use of all these additional aspects, that can also give you very strong edge to your readings. Now friends, when I say about the aspect over here as well, there is one thing which you have to make it clear in your mind. Like let's take up the example of the most vulnerable or sensitive house out of all the 12 houses, which is the 8th house. So now there is a way, there is a difference via which planets, where they are placed, they generate results, and where they aspect, they influence the matters of that house. So let's say for example, if a planet is going to be placed in the 8th house, so it's going to be aspecting the house opposite to it, which is the 2nd house. And if a planet is going to be placed in the 2nd house but aspecting the 8th house, so there is always going to be a difference in those matters. Now what is going to be the difference? So that is very simple friends, like wheresoever a planet is placed in, basis its dignity, it's definitely going to protect the signification of that house, and planet is going to generate or manifest results over there. But when we talk about the aspect to the house opposite to it, right now I'm not including the additional aspect. Let's take up the common case of 7th aspect, which all the planets carry with themselves. So now friends, over that it all comes down to, and it will be dependent on first of all that planet's role in your chart, basis your ascendant. Is this planet is malefic for you? If this planet is benefic for you, what is the dignity of that planet? What is the innate nature of that planet? And basis that, it's going to exert its influence in the matters of the house opposite to it. Now friends, you must have heard all these terms, like when people say this thing, I have this good news to share, but I do not want to share this news with that person because that person does not give me very good vibe, and I do not want to get the evil eye. So the same way planets also manifest results. So for example, when we take up the case of a Gemini rising or a Virgo rising, so for these people Mars is not a benefic planet. So see how all the eligibilities are getting met. So first of all, for the Gemini ascendant and the Virgo ascendant, Mars is not a benefic planet. The innate nature of Mars is also malefic. And over and above that, if Mars is going to be not well placed in the chart, so definitely not only it's going to damage the signification of the house where it is going to be placed in, but also it is going to negatively influence the house opposite to it. Now friends, why I gave this example of judging the house where a planet is going to be placed in and the way it exert its influence in the house opposite to it. So I will take up my case. For example, like I am a Aries ascendant person, my Mars is placed in the 8th house. My 10th house lord Saturn is also placed in the 8th house. 8th house is very potent, but trust me friends, I have always benefited from the matters of the 8th house. Like when you talk about being settled in a foreign land without any base, without any family background, any support, I came here, my planetary vibration brought me over here. Even my friends and everyone gets surprised, how come you were able to got settled in a foreign land? The second thing is that all this knowledge of mystic sciences, growing up, my qualification, all of my education was altogether of a different background. Third thing is that intuition, intuitive faculties have also, and it has always helped me. Now friends, when I talk about because being in this field of astrology, sometimes when I run into astrologers, other fellow astrologers who do not know about me, so trust me, when I show my chart to them, so lot many times I've seen this thing that just because looking at my 8th house, people just start saying negative things like, okay, 8th house can also give you defamation, 8th house can also be a significator of injuries, the so-called Hindi term apyash, defamation and all of that. So honestly speaking, it all comes down to in which dignity planet is placed in the chart. Now first thing is getting validated in my case, but one thing which people overlook is that it is not sparing the matters of the house opposite to it, where they are exerting their 7th aspect. So now trust me friends, because of the combination which I have in my 8th house and the way both the angry, ferocious planet which look at the matters of my 2nd house, trust me, out of the 10 comments which I get on daily basis on my YouTube channel, the most commonly posted 3 comments are definitely going to be, why do you speak so fast, speak slow? Whenever I go for any acting class, any improv class, that is the same feedback which I get. I'm trying to work on that. Second thing is that it's like the matters of saving. I have always faced a heat over there. And trust me friends, when we talk about the matters of the 2nd house, which also tells about your kutumb, your relatives and family members, like blood family members and all of that. And I still remember friends, like when I was in when we were kids, so my family from Haridwar, a very holy place in India, they got all of our family members Janampatri astrological chart made by a very renowned astrologer from that holy place. And I still remember, like in the last pages, after making all the charts manually, he has written few things about my personality, about my life. So he has written this thing that, okay, like if I'll say that in Hindi, dharm ki raksha karne wala hoga, so he will be a protector of religion. One thing he had written in my tipana or my astrological chart was that he will have wide circle of friends and he will be very well connected to very prominent people. So thanks to astrology, that also happened because my 11th house has got all the benefic planets well placed. So my social life, I've got a very good wide circle of friends. And he has also written one thing that सगे संबंधियों से सुख कम मिलेगा. So he will not derive happiness on the account of his relatives, family relatives. That has what happened in my case because of the 8th house potent planets have damaged by looking at the house opposite to it. So now friends, this is something which I want to say you over here. The way planet exert their influence. So looking at my chart, people come to this conclusion that the planetary presence must have damaged your 8th house, but rather than they have protected my 8th house, and whatsoever they have done to the house opposite to it. So now friends, now comes the part, the way planet exert their influence. So like the way I gave you the example of the Gemini ascendant, or for example, so now same way friends, for the Pisces rising, you can take up the example of the planet Venus, which has got the rulership of 2 malefic houses, like 3rd house and the 8th house. So wheresoever Venus is going to be placed in the chart of a Pisces rising person, and if Venus is not going to be well placed, so not only it has got the rulership of a malefic house, it is also not well placed in the chart. So then in that scenario, not only it's going to affect the signification of the house where it is going to be placed in, but also it is going to damage the matters of the house straight away opposite to it. Now you can also take up the case of the Cancer rising people as well, because in their case as well, Saturn is not a very auspicious planet for them. Saturn also sees your ascendant lord for Cancer people, a moon as its enemy. So now wherever Saturn is going to be placed in, and if Saturn in a Cancer rising person's case is not going to be well placed, not only it's going to create difficulties in the matters of the house where it is going to be placed in, but also the house opposite to it. So now friends, that was the case and scenario of the common seventh aspect which all the planets carry with themselves. Friends, I have given you fair examples. Like that is the same way even our normal human relationship also work out in the society, in the community. Like your relationship with your neighbor will be dependent on two things. One thing is that what is your innate personality? Are you a very happy? Are you a very generous person who only has blessing to give to everyone? Or are you a kind of a very resentful, very strict, very hateful person? The second thing is that the way your relation is with your neighbor. So that is how, and that is how the kind of sight or the way you will look at your neighbor. So now friends, after getting an idea about the common seventh aspect of all the planets, now let's take up the case of the planets with additional aspect, and starting first with the Jupiter. So now trust me friends, there is only blessing and grace in the aspect of the Jupiter. I'm telling it to you from an astrologer's point of view that if I'm going to come across a chart or a specific house which is under severe affliction, so the first thing which I will look forward to is that where Jupiter is placed. Is Jupiter aspecting that afflicted house or not? So now friends, like when we talk about the additional aspect of the Jupiter, that's very simple. Jupiter has got an additional fifth aspect and the ninth aspect. Now the result varies, although both the aspects have got benefic qualities attached to them. But friends, when we talk about the fifth aspect, it has somewhat to do with making use of your good intellect, like the way we say that sad buddhi. So your good intellect, your good virtues, your morals help you in taking good decision in the matters of that house. Both the aspect is going to protect you from any sort of malefic influence if you will find in that house, but over and above that, the fifth aspect always carries a degree and sense of wisdom attached to it. And some people also say this thing that because anything pertaining to the fifth house which has also to do with the past life merits as well. So this aspect can also grant you results of some of the good deeds done by you in the past life as well. So now let's say for example, if in your chart your Jupiter is going to be placed in the first house, so definitely it is going to protect all the signification of the fifth house, because friends, fifth house just tells about your intellect, your buddhi, your memory. So there Jupiter is going to help you. If Jupiter is going to be placed in the 11th house, it is going to be aspecting your third house with its fifth aspect. So definitely friends, your courage, your degree and sense of taking initiative, all of that is going to be well protected because of the divine grace and the fifth aspect of the planet Jupiter. Now friends, when we talk about the ninth aspect of the planet Jupiter, so now friends, like ninth aspect works like a divine blessings. Like in whichsoever house Jupiter is going to be putting its ninth aspect, some of the signification of that house will definitely experience good luck in those areas. And over and above that friends, because ninth aspect also carries some sort of virtues, wisdom, or all the charities and good deeds which you do, the result of that gets experienced in the matters of the ninth aspect wheresoever Jupiter influences that house. So friends, I will summarize it. Like fifth aspect in a way just grants wisdom to take right sort of decision in the matters of that house. Over and above that, some sort of results of the past life merits also get manifested with Jupiter's fifth aspect, whichever house gets influenced because of that. Now when we talk about the ninth aspect acts like a blessing, acts like a divine grace, higher wisdom. This gives you hopefulness, a drive to move forward with degree and sense of optimism, and both of these aspects have got a protecting street attached to them. Now friends, when we talk about the additional aspects of the planet Mars, so now friends, as you know that Mars, which is a warrior, Mars which is a fighter, but being a warrior, being a fighter, the first duty of a warrior is to protect. So now same way friends, like when we talk about the additional fourth aspect of the planet Mars, this aspect can actually be seen as carrying within it kind of a protective instincts. So like in whichever house. And friends, all of that comes down to, because when we talk about Jupiter, so it hardly matters whether Jupiter is debilitated, Jupiter is exalted, Jupiter is placed in a friendly sign, own sign, enemy sign, the aspect of Jupiter will still have a saving grace attached to it. No matter if you will find Jupiter to be debilitated. This is the kind of question which I even found in the books of the B.V. Raman sir as well. Like someone has asked this question, that is Jupiter's aspect going to be as potent, as powerful if it is going to be debilitated? Like a Capricorn Jupiter, will there be power in Jupiter's aspect? So yes friend, Jupiter's aspect will still be powerful. The intensity might be little bit diminished, but still it will exert a saving grace only. Now, when we talk about the additional aspect of Mars, so a lot will depend on Mars's dignity in the chart and its role in your life basis your ruling sign or your ascendant. So let's say for example friends, if Mars is a benefic planet for you and its dignity is strong, so definitely its fourth aspect is going to act as a protective gear for you, the protective instincts, and it will definitely try to protect you from any of the additional damage or kind of a threat on the account of enemies pertaining to the matters of that house. So let's say for example, if your Mars is going to be placed in the 8th house, so from over here Mars is going to be aspecting your 11th house. So the person could be very protective towards his friends, towards his elder siblings. Now if Mars is going to be placed in the 10th house, its fourth aspect is going to go to your first house, to your ascendant. So definitely friends, it's going to protect your overall personality from any of the threat on the account of challenges, competitors, hidden enemies. Now friends, when we talk about the 8th aspect, now this aspect is little bit sensitive and little bit tumultuous. So again friends, it all comes down to the dignity and role of Mars in your chart. So if Mars is a benefic planet for you, it is well placed. So 8th aspect carry within itself a very transformative and very destructive energy. So let's say for example, if your rising sign in itself is ruled by the planet Mars, you being a Aries ascendant, you being a Scorpio rising, or even if your ascendant sign is of a planet which is friendly to the planet Mars, like Mars becomes a Yog Karaka for the Cancer rising people and the Leo rising people. So in your case friends, if you will find Mars to be well dignified, well placed, so then in that scenario the 8th aspect of Mars can actually prove to be very transformative, very much supporting and favorable for you. So now friends, let's say for example, if you are a Cancer rising person and Mars is well placed, dignified in your 10th house, so from over here its 8th aspect is going to go and influence your 5th house, which is the house of your intellect, which is the house of your mind. So trust me friends, this placement and this 8th aspect can actually make you very fearless, very combative, and kind of very competitive in the life. And because of this fearlessness, you will be able to transform your life the way you want it to. And also friends, this is also going to exert a positive influence and impart positive qualities to your progeny as well. Like trust me, if all other elements are indicative of a male progeny, so this 8th aspect from the 10th house going to your 5th house can also grant you happiness on the account of a male progeny as well. Now friends, when we talk about the aspect of the planet Saturn, so trust me friends, the innate nature of the planet Saturn is of hard work, of discipline, of being very much consciously aware of your duties and your responsibilities. So now friends, when we talk about the additional aspects of the planet Saturn, so definitely third aspect tend to remain an aspect of putting more efforts. So now trust me friends, because whether we talk about the third aspect or the 10th aspect, both aspect has got a test and trials and patience and hard work attached to it. Specifically, I will be very honest with you, third aspect in a way, because I have heard many astrologers talk about that. Some astrologers say that third aspect of Saturn is benefic, some say third aspect is malefic. All what I have seen is that third aspect in itself encourages someone to put more and more efforts. So that is the kind of job which you have to do. Like in my chart, my Saturn is placed in the 8th house, so its third aspect straight away goes in the matters of the 10th house. And trust me, whatsoever I have to attain, I have to achieve in the life, I am very much clear within my mind that I have to earn that, I have to work hard for that. Now friends, when we talk about the 10th aspect of the planet Saturn, now trust me friends, this aspect works as a double-edged sword. So let's say, for example, if basis your ascendant, Saturn is an auspicious planet for you. Saturn is also well placed in your chart, and you run into the dasha of the planet Saturn, and all of your actions, all of your endeavors are completely aligned with the Saturnian principles of hard work, of discipline, helping people, being humanitarian, living life to the simplicity. So trust me friends, the 10th aspect, wheresoever and whichever house it is going to be influencing, it can actually grant you results of all of your hard work in the form of attainment of title, authority, power, becoming something, exerting your influence in the masses, in the world. And trust me friends, when we talk about the power and results of the Saturn, so many times what happens is that, see, Jupiter is the significator of the wisdom, but when we talk about the adhyatma, spirituality, tantra, all sort of spiritual powers, that is somehow connected with the domain or purview of the planet Saturn only. So if you are and you have aligned your life with the Saturnian principles, its 10th aspect, wheresoever it is going to be falling in, it can actually grant you blessings or some spiritual powers. Now friends, like let's say for example, that is the only reason we say that Saturn's placement in the 8th house is considered as good, because it can give you a long life, it can give you interest in occult powers, mystic sciences, and along with that, its 10th aspect falls in the 5th house. So somehow all these spiritual powers are somehow connected with your manasa only. So it can grant you those kind of powers. Now friends, that is the positive side of the 10th aspect of the planet Saturn, where the karma phal data, the planet of the justice, can give you and grant you powers. Now friends, the negative side of this 10th aspect is that, but let's say for example friends, if Saturn is not a very auspicious planet for you guys, basis your ascendant, you being a Cancer ascendant, you being a Leo ascendant, and Saturn is not well placed as well in your chart, and your actions, your activities are also completely in contradiction with the Saturnian principles. So the moment you're going to run into the Saturn dasha, or Saturn is going to gain power in the transit, so its 10th aspect can cause a havoc in your life, because this is the aspect which punishes with severe destructive results. So you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. So now friends, if I have to summarize the aspect of the planet Saturn, so its 3rd aspect encourages us to put more efforts, and 10th aspect can actually give you the results of all of your actions and the result of your own karma in the form of power or in the form of punishment, which can come from the 10th aspect of the planet Saturn. So that is something friends which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs on this topic of the planetary aspects. I know friends, in this video I just explained it to you, the theoretical aspect of the planetary aspects. I will definitely make another video on this topic where I'm going to include some case studies, some reference chart, and via that I will explain you the contribution or the importance of the aspects in Vedic astrology. So friends, for further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.